Mr. CEO, we've successfully created the world's lightest 17-inch laptop, but we don't know what to call it.
How much does it weigh?
2.98 pounds. The LG 2.98 pound is in fact one of the lightest laptops that you can buy. In fact, it's not just light for 17-inch standards, this thing is light as hell. Sometimes called the LG Gram by people that don't understand weights and measurements. The LG Gram is not just lightweight, but it has phenomenal battery life and it is very fast. Today we're gonna dive a little bit deeper into the LG Gram. We're gonna find out if it's any good, and we're going to find out if you should buy one. Here's where I would normally cue the music, but I already did that because of that joke, so we're just gonna move right along. So this particular LG 2.98 pound is equipped with the 8th generation i7 processor, a 256 gig NVMe solid state drive, and 16 gigabytes of RAM. Now, it also has a 2K 17.3 inch display, which is basically, for all intents and purposes, edge to edge, and it is exceptional. Now, LG claims that you can get about 19 hours of battery life out of this thing, and I think that that is a little bit of a stretch, but that said, in practical usage, you will get somewhere between 10 to 15 hours. And then, in fact, I'd even say in most cases, you would probably err closer to 15 hours. It is the best battery life I have ever used on a laptop. They really managed to do something pretty special with this. This is not the fastest laptop ever made. It's not the best built, but it is special. It is different. They tried to make something unique, and I really applaud them for that. Basically, you have a laptop that you can pretty much take anywhere you want to go. It is a multimedia machine, and it will last forever while doing it. In terms of features, it is equipped with the Wi-Fi AC standard wireless card. It has Bluetooth 4.1 low power. It has a fingerprint scanner. It does not have a Windows Hello camera, but it does have a 720p camera. It's okay, and here is what the video camera quality looks like. Here is a test of the webcam of the LG Gram 17. So as you can see, the webcam quality is certainly adequate, and if you need to do a Skype or a Zoom call, it will get the job done, but you're probably not going to record your computer stuff YouTube channel on it. That said, I love the simplicity of the LG 2.98 pound. It is just a very, very nice, it's a nice laptop that is taking a page out of Apple's minimalist book. They do have a full-size keyboard, and it is backlit. The keys are nice and big. They're the full-size chiclets, so you're not going to be making a whole lot of typos, hunting for keys and putting your fingers in the wrong place. It does have the numpad on the right side, and all in all, the keyboard does feel pretty good to type on. It's not as good as the MacBook Pro or the Dell XPS series. It's not even as good as some of the entry-level Dell Inspirons, but it is very good. You're not going to make a lot of typos. Comfort-wise, it's not quite as luxurious as some of the other keyboards that we've used. Your fingers might get tired after a ton of typing, but for those that are just using it for average Word documents, the occasional internet browsing and this kind of thing, this keyboard is going to be more than adequate. And the trackpad is about the same. It's very good. It only ghosts a little bit, and what trackpad ghosting is when you move your finger to select an icon, for example, it goes just a little bit further than where you intended it to go. And this does that maybe a hair, but otherwise the gestures are very good. It's very responsive, and it's got a nice sort of tactile click on it that is pleasurable to touch. So all in all, it has a great input system, and even better is its output system. The 17.3 inch panel is gorgeous. It is glossy, but it's big, it's borderless. The blacks are very deep, the colors are very vivid, and this is the kind of screen that you could look at for absolutely hours on end, because it does have 19 hours of battery life after all. You could look at it for hours on end and your eyes not get tired. It is a 2K display, and that makes the battery life even all the more impressive. I've seen laptops that have lesser resolution screens and have much, much worse battery life, and that's pretty much why you'd want to buy the LG Gram in the first place. It is a premium computer in the sense that it is super lightweight and it has a fantastic screen, but it really is the battery life that sells this thing. The plastics on it they're a little bit cheap, and it's not something that I would imagine can take a ton of abuse. When we see these things going for sale used on the internet, and I'm going to get into this in a moment actually, but if you see these things for sale used on the internet, most of them do have some dings and scratches and dents and this kind of stuff, but it's nothing that detracts from its performance. And after all, this thing is as light as a gram. But that does lead me to my next point, which is that if you're going to be buying one of these computers, I'd almost argue that you're better off buying one used or refurbished. I do like this LG Gram very much, and I do think it's very good value. But if you buy a brand new one, you can expect to be paying somewhere around the $1,500 range, depending on specs and where you get it. But if you buy one of these things used on, like, let's say eBay, for example, you're probably going to be able to nab one for about about $999, maybe even a little bit less. And in which case, if you do find one for that price, it is a steal of a deal. This thing really is light as a feather. I mean, at 17 inches, and just adjust to make sure there's no glare. At 17 inches, this is one of the lightest laptops I have ever used. And it is really just due in part to the plastics that they're using. But they put a fat old battery in there. They put an i7 processor to give you that extra horsepower. Now, one thing to note about the i7 is that it is downclocked. So in order basically to achieve better thermals and better performance for the battery. But when you get this thing kind of revving up to full speed, you do hear the fan kick in. Otherwise, when it's running idle or when it's doing just normal day-to-day tasks, it is exceptionally quiet. You can't even hear it running. This really is one of those computers that you just put on your desk and you sort of forget that it's ever there, other than when you're using it. And that makes for very good design, is when you don't have to really think about something. You just sort of get to it and you use it. So I do think that the LG Gram is a very good computer. Who is it for? Well, the LG Gram is not known for its horsepower despite its impressive specs. It does only have an Intel UHD graphics card, so this really isn't for like graphics editors, and the i7 is throttled, so I don't think that it's for like movie editors or anything like that. If you had to do some Photoshop on it, you certainly could, and the storage on the inside is expandable, so if you wanted to do Photoshop editing, maybe a little bit of music production and that kind of thing, this laptop is certainly capable of doing it, but it's not going to be the best rendering performance you've ever had. Though, photographs on this thing are going to look gorgeous. And that's who I think this is for. This is for a traveling multimedia holder, whoever that person may be. Probably a journalist, but basically somebody that's going to be holding a lot of pictures and movies that they're not going to be editing and rendering them, but they're going to be showing them. This is like for like a magazine editor or somebody, and they're traveling from one place to the other to show what their magazine is going to like look like when it goes to print, or somebody that's watching movies constantly. Like if you're a tabletop movie watcher, this is the perfect laptop for you. And albeit it is a very expensive machine, but for those that don't mind throwing down the $1,000 for a multimedia masterpiece, well, this is basically it. We've also had clients that are in doctor's offices that really gravitate to the LG 2.98 pound. They really like it because it is so lightweight. They can go from desk to desk and client, basically patient to patient with this computer, and they can show the patient all their data on the screen. It's big enough for both doctor and patient to see. They can turn it around, they can twist it, they can do all kinds of things, manipulate it, show it, do it, try it. It's awesome. And so doctor's offices apparently do quite well with the LG Gram as well. Basically anybody that you want to show something to on this fancy, beautiful screen. Input and output on the LG 2.98 pound though is fairly decent. So on this side you have where you plug it in, USB, super speed, HDMI, USB-C. LED that says, hey, I'm plugged in and I'm charging just for you, so you can use me for another 20 hours without having to plug me in again. And then on this side you've got a micro SD card, a TRRS multi-headphone speaker jack, multi-headphone microphone jack, 2 USB super speeds, and then Kensington lock, because everybody uses that. And that's the interesting thing about the LG Gram. Even though it is not a supercomputer by any means, and again, it does have the i7, and then the new LG Grams have, it's gonna come on in a second, isn't it? Boom, there it is. And the new LG, I'm just gonna turn it off, there we go. So it's not disturbing people. There we go. And the new LG Gram does come with the 10th generation i7 processor, but because they throttle the CPUs a little bit, it's not a beast performing computer, but it has impressive I/O. And so yeah, I don't know. It could be, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is for the audio editor, basically somebody that's going to be sitting in a studio and they just need to plug in audio interfaces and all kinds of crazy things, or somebody that needs to knock out some Photoshop raws. And again, if you don't need like full-blown incredible rendering performance, like you don't need like the fastest effects slapped on immediately, then it's probably going to do just fine. But I do like the LG Gram, and I do recommend it. And if I needed a 17-inch computer with one of the best-looking screens, the most impressive battery life, and something that I could balance on my pinky finger, I'd buy one myself. A couple of other things to note about the LG 2.98 pound is that it has dual microphones at the top. And you saw our webcam test, they're okay. It also has very, very loud speakers, but they're not the best speakers. There's not a lot of distortion, but they have about as much bass in them as a koi pond. And I wish that they just sort of maybe either popped in a subwoofer, emphasized just a little bit of the bass boosting in it, not totally sure. Maybe something that can be solved with an equalizer. So speakers are good for probably like watching a movie or listening to some music, but don't expect a whole lot of lows, but you do get a tremendous amount of mids and highs. Another cool thing about the LG Gram is that it has a control panel built in which allows you to adjust settings like keyboard backlight, instant boot, USB always on charging, just a couple of small things that some people might want to have access to. So that was kind of a nice touch as well. Thank you for watching, everybody. That's the LG 2.98 pound. Please like and subscribe, and I'll be your best friend.